Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Ace and I got more TF2 commentary. Playing as a scout on Nucleus, rocking of course the stock scattergun, the Sandman, which is a melee weapon I barely ever use, if at all, until this weapon comes around, which of course is the secondary of the scout, added with the recent patch of TF2, the promo pack, and it's called the Flying Guillotine. Now if you haven't paid attention to TF2 or for some reason forgot, and if you have forgotten it, then I would suggest going to the doctor because you may have some serious brain damage. Nonetheless, the Flying Guillotine throwing knife, some decent stats. It's basically a rap assassin on steroids, but you can't hit people with it like a melee weapon. It does recharge extremely fast. You can't pick it up once you have thrown it, so keep that in mind. It basically causes bleeding damage, has an initial base damage if you hit a person, 40 damage I believe. You have the ability to do mini crits with that base damage if you throw it from a relatively long distance. But if a person is stunned, hence the Sandman, you do a 100% critical hit against that specific player if you can in fact hit them with the knife as well. So it's rather complicated. You have to first hit them with the Sandman and then follow up with the knife. But they have to be stunned, so you can't really stand next to a person, hit them with the Sandman and then follow up with the knife, because then of course the stun won't last long enough, which is slightly unfortunate. Nonetheless, the Flying Guillotine in combination with the Sandman is very satisfying if you can get those hits off. I've already done, I believe, one of them in this video, and I will continue to do so the entire during this video, so keep paying attention to that. But it is very complicated and it is very hard, especially if you are in the position that I am in, which is basically never ever used the Sandman properly. And also the Sandman is a weapon I sincerely dislike because of the fact it makes me more vulnerable, because it takes away 15 health for a potential stun, which you also have to hit. So it is a trade-off that you have to take into consideration. But if you can get those two in combination working, it is so satisfying. I can't stress that enough. It feels so good. And I suppose I have to say the following as well to satisfy the masses and to perhaps gain some laughs. So I apologize beforehand for this, but
Mundo goes where he pleases.
Yeah, it's a cleaver. Don't judge me. Also, I got a bit greedy over there, and then I forgot about the fact that there was a sentry. Nonetheless, the fact that the cleaver is very fast in his recharge, as you can see at the bottom right. It says lever there because the HUD hasn't been updated yet for this specific weapon, but you get the gist of it. It's a recharge bar. I think you can understand the philosophy behind that. And it goes fairly quickly, so even if you take away the Sandman, which is most likely something I will be doing, and then either add the atomizer for a triple jump, or the rap assassin even if you really want to go the extra mile and annoy the living hell out of the enemy, or just the regular bat, or perhaps the candy cane if you feel like you can avoid explosions and such, you may have been granted a very, very powerful, very potent secondary weapon to annoy the enemy with. It's not as reliable as the pistols, of course, and it does require you to have some decent aim with that projectile. But once you get it down with the knife itself, it's not that hard to get a hit off. I found that in comparison to the Sandman, it's actually fairly simple for me personally to hit somebody with the knife. It's just that the combination of first Sandman then knife actually was troublesome for me. I actually had moments when I was trying these two weapons out in combination where I actually hit somebody first with a knife and then with the Sandman, which didn't make any kind of sense, but that's what happened to me. But if we are going to look from it from a standalone perspective as a just a secondary, it's basically a rap assassin on steroids, I'm not gonna lie. And with this fast recharge, you can basically cause so much chaos and just perhaps get a lot of satisfaction out of it as well, because that's what I used the rap assassin for. Not only to freak the enemy team out, but also to have that sense of satisfaction to be able to hit somebody with a bloody Christmas ball. Now you can do the same thing, but then of course with, well, a cleaver at somebody's face. And because of the initial base damage, it's actually a lot more potent than the rap assassin as well, and a lot faster. Because if you actually hit somebody from a decent range, you have about 50 base damage, and then a significant amount of bleeding damage, which makes them quite scared or makes them freak out a lot more than just a wrap assassin or any kind of other bleeding damage that you have to apply. So very nice from a standalone perspective, even more satisfying from a combination with the Sandman. So if you haven't got this weapon yet, I recommend to get it. It's a lot of fun, and I think I'm not sure if I should say this, but I think it's my favorite weapon and possibly even the best weapon, if you take into consideration it's a different class, of course, that has been granted to any class with this specific bonus or promo pack, Triad Bundle, in at least for the game Sleeping Dogs, if I'm not mistaken, a Chinese mafia game. Not really into that, but I can understand why other people may be into that. And you can just buy this specific pack in the shop if you're into that, or just pre-order the game if you want the game itself as well to get all the items genuine. Or you can just craft it as well. It's a fairly simple crafting recipe. You just get mad milks times 3 mad milks, a reclaimed metal, and you get the Flying Guillotine. Or you can be a gambler, of course, use a class token, a slot token, and a scrap metal. But I think a mad milk and a 3 mad milks and a reclaimed is a lot more cost effective, even if you get it on the first try to get with the gamble, of course. And also, it's not that easy. A lot of people are training it right now. I think that the cost will go down as well because everybody wants it, but you always have that in the beginning of a new release, especially for the weapons. And just to prove to you guys that this is very satisfying, I would suggest to just try it out, and it does 150 damage on that crit. So you can already understand if you hit somebody with the Sandman and then follow up, of course, with the crit, you pretty much can kill a lot of classes. You can kill other scouts, you can kill medics, snipers, engineers, spies even, which actually is a lot of fun as well if you can actually hit a spy. Because even if they DR with the stun, it stays above their head, so it's basically a giant arrow to where they are walking around. The crit doesn't, of course, affect them as much if they are in DR as it normally would have, but nonetheless a lot of fun to then apply bleeding damage as well, so you can basically constantly track them and they can't get away, because they first have that arrow above their head, and then in addition to that, when the arrow almost runs out and they are barely walking, you can then hit the cleaver for that bleeding damage. And there's a lot of fun gimmicks with it, but in the end, is this weapon reliable? And I have to say that for competitive play, no. It's for more serious play, definitely not. It's more of a gimmick, but it's a potent gimmick. It's not as gimmicky as, let's say, the Men Threats in my opinion, or the Market Gardener, but it's definitely a weapon that has its use, as well a lot of fun to it as well. But I just have to point out that it's not reliable, because once again, if you are going to use it in the Sandman or in a combination with the Sandman, you actually have to hit 2 projectiles, and even if you stun them, they still move around. So that's something you have to consider, and you can only use it on one person, where if you had the pistol and, let's say, the atomizer, or the regular bat, the stock bat is probably a better, probably a better weapon to use in this analogy. You are in a position where you have more reliable weapons on your side to kill, where it's always just a question if a stun works, because right there you can see very close range the stun doesn't even work, and you basically just wasted a potential stun. I probably should just switch to my scattergun a bit earlier there as well, but nonetheless, it's not reliable as much as the pistol maybe. Even the pocket pistol is a lot better than than this specific weapon based on reliability. But I really enjoy the cleaver. I will be using it a lot more, and it's definitely satisfying to use. Nonetheless, guys, I do recommend checking it out. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.